Welcome back to the Pleasure Monkey Podcast, everybody. On this episode, I'm kicking it with my boy, Aaron Alexander from the Align Podcast. Aaron, what did we talk about over the last hour? It was a lot.
Okay, what did we talk about? Drop in for this. We talked about engaging your PC muscles,
Okay.
and we can just leave that as a hanger of what the heck that is and how
Yeah.
we can increase our sexual potential.
Ooh.
We talked about correlations of depression and how our environment is potentially forming us into a position that is conducive towards making us feel generally shitty.
Yeah.
And how we can start to unwind some of those patterns. And just the fact that even exists. And so we can start to see that in our world. What else? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
There's some other stuff in there.
That's a lot of it. We need a lot of patterning, a lot of behavioral patterning, and how we can break out of that.
Yeah, that's right.
But a lot of it all kind of came down to how to move the body, move the mind.
Yeah. Lots of connections of like sexuality meets Olympic weightlifting meets CrossFit. Which that's like
meets
duh,
dance,
What
meets
else would
everybody.
you talk about is CrossFit and sex?
Yeah. We also read some quotes from a book.
Profit.
The Prophet.
Highly recommend that one.
Prophet. We dropped that. Dropped a little Jordan Peterson. This is a good one. This is a fun one. I had a blast with this.
Yeah.
So you also got a little goodie bag from our homies over at onit.com.
You want me to tell you about the goodie bag?
I want you to tell me about what you love about it.
All right. First of all, I have been I'm loving the MCT oils. So I'm adding that stuff into my on it coffee, which I'm all about.
Isn't it nice to have different flavors of MCT oils?
Yeah, you
to
enjoy
fit the
that.
mood? Have you tried the savory ones yet?
I am using the savory ones as well. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I'm just like, I'm like bland. Like I said, I need to watch more Game of Thrones and be a little bit more fictional in my life. And so I just do like the straight MCT oil.
Yeah.
That's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
And I loved all of them. I really enjoyed especially with the salads and the savories. That was my
salads and
my
savories,
shizzle.
and then the tea with the vanilla I like a lot. A good green tea with the vanilla MCT is
I
awesome.
gotta get on that.
What else you got over there?
Ooh, I'm doing the fulvic minerals every day. I'm quite enjoying that.
Isn't it nice that they don't taste like shit?
Yeah, it's legit. So that's actually my first thing that I do each morning. We didn't get any kind of like morning traditions or anything, but I swear to baby Jesus, 6 pound, 7 ounce.
Beautiful, shining, glowing, white as can
vaginal
be.
fluid still. No, that was too far.
Dude, went too
we should
far
edit
with
that
it.
part out.
No, it's staying in. It's staying in.
So that is a part of the thing. First thing, wake up, go out, bust out some fulvic, which is it's kind of weird to say.
Yeah, fulvic. It sounds cool.
We gotta start
sounds
that.
like you're super into health.
Do something about the exactly.
It's like, people are taking my fulvic minerals in the morning.
Every time
like,
you pull the fulvic bottle up, people are like,
that?
"You really know what you're talking about."
This guy obviously knows. You can really impress your friends.
Yeah, or
like if
you
you have some random one night stand over at your house and you're like, oh, I just woke up. I got to get my fulvic minerals in for my hormone balance.
There's nothing like it in the world.
Like, wow, this guy must really care about his health.
He really cares.
He really cares. He doesn't care about me much, but he cares about his health
And
a
then
lot.
when I run out of the fulvic, I just end up filling it back up with water so I can still impress people.
Yeah, that's the move.
That's the move.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
essentially like how I run my life. It's just pretending.
Yeah.
But it works. It seems
If you
to help.
don't have a lot of money, but you're still trying to impress conscious women, that's the move.
Yeah, or just do acro yoga because all you really need is like jump shorts.
There you go.
Barely. From what I saw today.
Barely even.
Yeah, dude. Well, hey, if you want more Onnit stuff, you can go to onnit.com/monkey and get 10% off.
I did not know that.
Did you not? Did that really?
No, I did know that.
You did know that.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I think I have an affiliate thing.
No, you don't. Just the only one that exists is onnit.com/monkey.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I think that's true. I'm pretty sure there's only one.
Yeah, that's the only one that matters.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's so fun to type. Like typing monkey is one of my favorite things in the world to do.
I don't know what my affiliate thing is.
No one's going to use it on the show. You're on my podcast, dude.
So
We're trying to rip your affiliate code on my podcast.
So it's perfect.
Anyways, onnit.com/monkey, 10% off. And here's a show of a brother, Aaron Alexander. Y'all have fun. Bam. This is Jerk Gear. We live. We here.
Shit.
It's been a while, dude. But
been a long time.
You know what's similar about this podcast is and the last one we did is that we're just sitting cross-legged. You're on the floor this time.
Yeah.
I'm on an elevated surface.
This time we have some noose in the mouths.
Yeah,
That's a little different approach.
We're using tobacco this time.
Holy God, ceremonial tobacco.
Ceremonial
Only.
tobacco for the pod.
Nothing but the finest.
Nothing but the finest for this guy.
What do you think about tobacco, man? It's such an interesting thing, like challenging your taboos. So I come from a physical health, personal training, manual therapy, educating people on how to be well in their bodies.
Yeah.
And so something like tobacco, which I'm still not on board with, to be honest. I think in ceremonial use, I think we can do, there's a lot of things. It's just, it's like the poison is in the dose kind of thing.
Exactly.
But it's an interesting thing, starting to bend your perspectives a little bit of like, what is health? What does that even mean?
Yeah, tobacco's funny, man, because I grew up in, I come from the same, generally speaking, tobacco is bad. It gets funneled into the bad category. But I grew up in like small town Texas, right? So it's like I knew guys who started dipping snuff when they were 12 and they just keep one in all day. I knew guys who would put it in a horseshoe, which is like the whole bottom. And there was actually one guy in town who's a buddy of mine's dad who put a horseshoe in the bottom and somehow could put a horseshoe of snuff in the top.
Jesus.
And just didn't have any teeth. It was, so it's like that was my association. I started doing like chewing tobacco, like long leaf chew, which was actually not as bad for you. It's like still not good, but I started doing that when I was like 13.
It's like with most things, it's like it's not as bad for you in quotations. Generally speaking, if it just the closer you can get to the plant form, like the original form, it's like, oh, okay, cool. It becomes, we enter into medicine realm where we can responsibly use it.
It looks like tobacco versus if you get Copenhagen or Skull, what most people don't know is that the American process of creating tobacco or creating anything, it's essentially the same as a Twinkie version of food, right? It's like it has fiberglass, it has chemicals. They would put fiberglass in the ground snuff, right? And then it would cut you micro abrasions in your gum.
You get higher.
And you would get more absorption, so you get addicted faster. Versus snus, like what we have now, which is a pouch, and it's pure tobacco, or what my grandfather did, which is or does, and it's like a powdered leaf. So there's nothing added to it, but it's just pure tobacco. You can snort it too as well.
I got another new boundary pushing culture shock moment was in Peru.
Yeah.
You guys talk about like ayahuasca and all that stuff on here.
Oh yeah, we talk about all the drugs.
You go in all that stuff. Okay.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll and podcast.
I've done probably more than is necessary discussion on that in other mediums. So I'm trying to pump the brakes a little bit on that, but I'm open to it as well. But with that, when I was in Peru I did like this. I was out for, it was probably like a 4-month trip, and I was kind of like hitchhiking around. I took this boat ride down through the Amazon. I was going to cargo ship and slinging up the hammock with like 100 other local. There was a couple people on the kind of like the same mission as me as well. But arrived to this place, finally randomly found it. And then it was like a ayahuasca shaman retreat, whatever. And most of the people were there for cancer. Yeah. So I was like the only young whippersnapper. I was like 23 or something like that. And all the people were there for cancer. And I'm here like, I want to explore ayahuasca. And everybody is there puffing tobacco.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hold on. You're here. Like, this is going against everything that I understand about, Western medicine.
Was it its
approach to...
It was Mapacho?
Maybe it was big fat stogies.
It looks like a
Mapacho. Yeah, I don't. At the time, I didn't ask. It was just big tobacco stogies.
So the way they do that, it looks like a massive joint, and it's funny. I have a bunch of them at my house that we brought back from Peru, and I actually got gifted some from a podcast fan who went to Peru to Spirit Quest with Don Howard and brought us a bunch back. But it's funny, man, that ceremonial tobacco use was something that I've found to be really powerful. And you don't inhale Mapacho. You smoke it like a cigar, and it burns a little faster, but it's this black Peruvian tobacco that's raised and cultivated in a really responsible way. But there's ceremony around it. I actually had one of the most visionary experiences of my last trip to Peru in the tobacco ceremony before we even drank ayahuasca, before we even did Wachuma. That was the first step. We had a ceremony around. We essentially the people that are there for that trip, for that excursion, will make the ayahuasca for the next group. So we like get to break the ayahuasca and see how it all went down. Like just be involved in the process and then put some good energy into that medicine for the next crew. And then we were drinking the previous crews. We had a spirit animal meditation with Mapacho and just got to walk around and just really be in the jungle. And it was funny how grounding the tobacco was. And it's not something that, I mean, if you're in ceremony, it really does help ground you out. But I've used it in ceremony since then, and we have, like I said, we keep a lot at the house. So in any kind of ceremonies we're in, that's always a nice grounding tool. And that's where I actually did the spirit animal meditation that Aubrey Marcus led. And when I found the black jaguar, pounced on me.
You pronounced it jaguar too. That was fancy.
Dude,
you went in.
That was some woke shit. That's
shit.
Bring the
Connor.
Dude, but it was
you hang out with Aubrey for one spirit ceremony. All of a sudden,
that's Brian Callen. That's 100% stole it from Brian Callen.
Oh, was that Brian Callen?
Yeah, that's Brian Callen.
Jaguar.
The jaguar. But no, it was funny, man. We go into the spirit animal meditation and you get in so deep. You're so deep into it, and then you're you visually put yourself in just a jungle full of every animal that's ever existed, right? And in my vision, I made it dark. I could just hear all these sounds because I knew if I projected, like I've always had an affinity for bears and like killer whales and orcas and dolphins and just crazy, But I've always liked these animals. I'm like, I just want to go in here blind and see what happens. And in this meditation, you call an animal to you, and for whatever reason, it was a jaguar pounced on me in this meditation, and I was looking face to face with this black jaguar with big green eyes, and I was like, where the fuck did you come from? This is super random. And had more visions of that same jaguar throughout that entire week we spent there. And ever since then, it's been like this kind of guiding mantras that have been attached to that, like pure focus and pure confidence is something that came with that. Because in my first ayahuasca ceremony, I had a lioness vision. Like I was kind of freaked out for a little while, as you are the first time you go into something like that, not knowing what to expect, and had a very great experience with what they would call like the Divine Mother, and looked down and then saw this lioness eye and ear, and I could feel these teeth sinking into my neck. But it didn't feel bad. It felt good. It was like pleasurable. And then I got to talk later on, 2 ceremonies later, like, what the fuck was that lioness all about? And it's like, oh, that's your feminine essence. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Of course.
I'm down with that. And then it was
I thought it was my herpes flaring up, but that was your feminine lion.
Yeah, you're on that. So it was like this. It was this nice combination. It was actually the last night of ceremony with Wachuma. I was deep in it, man. Everybody else is coming out, and I'm like still deep in Wachuma, and I got to watch, in my vision, this gigantic altar that we're on with these artifacts everywhere. Human skulls, right? Male shaman skulls, 3 of them on the right, female shaman skulls on the left from the tribes, and it was just crazy. It was so wild, and there's thousands of years worth of artifacts on this table. And in my mind, I'm in this place at the head of this thing, watching a lioness and a jaguar walk down the altar, come together, turn into one, and then walk back into my chest. It was a really great experience. It was fun.
Did you feel any physical alterations, developments from that? Not so much. Any tangible, a month later, I feel like my snatch is better or anything like that. By snatch, I mean your pussy. Yeah.
No,
it's a different.
It's fun, and this is something that I would love to explore with you. Not my pussy, but no, but
podcast over.
What's funny is that Aubrey had actually brought this up, and it was like, make an agreement with these animals that you make an association with, like make an agreement. So I know if I feel a sensation in my neck, because I have that's where the lioness was really drawn to me. That's a love thing for me. It's like, that's a relentless love piece. That's her reminding me that I need to anchor in this relentless love that I really do believe in. And since for whatever reason, the mantra of like pure focus and pure confidence that came with the jaguar, like that was in my chest, and I could feel that. So when I feel a sensation in my chest, or I feel some kind of pulling there, it's like, hey, you're anchoring in these mantras. So that physicality of it, that physical representation of what those experiences were, has been really present. And the way that I stand and present myself after that experience, is profoundly different. A different human being. It has been really wild. And even my sexual expression has been way different since then. It like woke me up. It's like a part of me, like that primal part of me that I think I was ashamed of for a long time, got let out of the cage. I mean, that was really the thing. It was like I got released, and I got to see a jaguar in a cage on that same trip, and it fucked me up. I was like, that was me.
There's also value to the cage. I think that there's, some people, and this is like traditional kind of annoying hippies, like, I'm out of the cage, I'm a liberated man. And they're like, I know, but shut up.
Chill, bro.
I get it. Just relax. Like, you also live in this culture, in this society.
Hey, take a shower.
Yeah, And so that's something that I've kind of witnessed in myself, a certain degree of like pumping the brakes. Like sometimes, so I will have opinions around like high heels and things like that, or wire bras. There's all sorts of conversations, the effect of that on your diaphragm and your rib cage and such. But I think there's also something to just having a little bit of leeway and acceptance and understanding, because we can create rigidity around our belief of fluidity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I actually wrote that down the other day. I said,
you wrote that down?
I said something similar. It was, we're just.
I'm sure it was more eloquent than whatever I just said.
No, I don't know. I don't remember. It'll end up on a meme somewhere at some point. Shout out intern Abby on making the dankest memes in the game right now.
Good.
No, but it's sometimes when we force rigidity into parts of our lives that thrive in fluidity. Like we do that a lot of times. It's like, but you gotta let yourself wiggle, my man. We're gonna bring up Alan Watts on this show because it's me and you. But
I've been diverging away from Alan, not in a negative way at all. But I've been messing with. Well, I'm excited about this book, Prophet, right now.
Yeah, I
highly
recommend
recommend any folks. Not that I'm trying to allude to the fact that I wrote down quotes from the Prophet that I happen to
that
have
you are
beside
a prophet
me right now.
You are a prophet yourself, and that you're assembling a cult that I'm going to be a part of / co-leader in.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm projecting us sleeping with other people's wives on an astounding rate, in the next 16 months.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I have a graph I drew for us.
Yeah, draw it up. Yeah, we should break that out. Did some schematics.
It's all about manifesting.
What are we talking about?
The Prophet, the book.
All right, let's just bust out some other freaking quotes.
We got some scribble quotes.
Here. Yeah. All right, so this is one that I find really fascinating that I quite enjoy.
Let's do this.
This is simple.
Let's do this now. I don't want to interrupt you, but no, keep that in your hand.
I'm gonna keep my.
I love this podcast so much. So let's just we'll read one of these quotes and we'll jump into it. We'll play with it.
That's what I'm
saying. We'll explore it. Yeah, we'll wander
fun.
into it.
This wasn't my intention, and this is perfect. I'm glad that I happened to.
This is what happens when you don't plan your content. You just put it out there.
My little notebook. All right, so. First of all, just read the freaking Prophet, people. If you haven't, what are you doing? I haven't as of like 2 weeks ago, so I can't judge too much. All right, all you have. Let's see here. I write quite squiggly. All you have shall someday be given. Therefore, give now, that the season of giving may be yours instead of your inheritors. That shit's legit. So think about it. Should I read it again?
Read it again.
All right. So all you have shall someday be given. Right, so you're going to die at some point.
Yes.
You can't pack your shit out.
Okay.
Right. Therefore, give now, that the season of giving may be yours. So while you have your shit in your hand right now, just enjoy giving it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like medicine for me. The reason I write this down is because it's stuff that I'm working with.
Of course,
by no means many like Prophet, whatever. I'm like, I'm working on it. And then instead of your inheritors. So essentially, by hoarding our stuff, our material possessions here now, we end up missing out on that gift of being able to the gift of gifting. And so it's like everybody, you hear this all over the place in podcast land. It's just how much better it feels to give. It's selfish to give in a sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but it's playing with that. I like that idea and that awareness of like, I have to give all this stuff away.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, at some point I have to give it away. So I'll more likely than not hoard excessive amounts of shit unless I figure this out, and then give it away so someone else can live through my material stuff, and then maybe they'll get kind of the reward of giving it away. So just start giving your shit away, essentially is what we're getting at.
So you bring that up in the form of physical goods, right? Which is I think a pretty common thing, right? It's hoarding and attaching yourself and creating your identity around your physical things, the thinginess, right? But do you think that sometimes is expressed when it comes to knowledge or experience or love sometimes?
Eye contact.
Right?
Just presence with people.
Your attention,
closing yourself.
Because you may not have a lot of things, right? Like I don't have a lot of things, but what I do have is time.
Right.
You know, I do have the capacity to create a space for someone, and I love to do that. And even this, like we talked about this on the bike ride back from the beach today. It's like I have no interest in creating an intellectual pissing contest. You know, I would like to make my ideas and my thoughts relatable. So I bring them to the people where they can receive them and be received and give in that way, because that's I feel like a gift that I may have.
Yeah.
But if I was to just keep, you know, living in an echo chamber and deep diving into my own ideas, where then I then become unrelatable, I would have no opportunity to give the gift.
Yeah.
To give the things.
And there's value in being stuck in your echo chamber and banging your head up against the wall.
Yeah, well, that's where the magic happens,
Yeah,
right?
That's like the fool that persists in his folly will eventually become wise.
Oh yeah,
you know, so
William Blake.
So giving yourself that spaciousness to or self-acceptance, be like, God, I'm a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, fine, be a dickhead. Like, you need dickhead right now.
Yeah.
Like, you need to just be a total cunt for the next 6 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You need all your friends to leave you. You need your wife, like, you need to just go into just feel it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, this totally sucks.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think most of us, we end up living kind of like, we go into like, 25% away from that core,
mm-hmm.
and then we kind of pull back.
Yeah.
And we go back up to 35, 40%. And then we kind of drift back into 25%, 20%. And then you pull back.
Yeah.
Some people, I think there is actually a lot of, you know, there's a lot of virtue in hitting rock bottom. You know, you hear that from like alcoholics and drug addicts and stuff like that.
Alcoholics and drug addicts have a really easy trigger there, right? It's like, it's very easy to be like, oh, this is a very toxic behavior.
Yeah.
But maybe your toxic behavior is not feeling. I mean, it doesn't have to be that aggressive.
Yeah.
Right. It's not allowing yourself to feel, and you've patterned avoidance of yourself essentially, and you live your whole life that way. Like and I think one thing, you know, I've thought about a lot is that really advancement in I would say consciousness, if you want to use that word, comes with a nice balance of privilege and hardship or struggle, right? And I think that is because if you're in a place of constant struggle where you're just trying to survive, like, you don't really have the capacity to give that many fucks about developing your self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't. There's no time. You're trying to eat. Like, that's where your mind goes.
Yeah.
And if you're extremely privileged, you don't have enough friction to create a shape with yourself. But somewhere in, like, I have the amount of privilege to be able to let my mind wander and question things, but I've also experienced enough friction in my life that I do get to take some kind of shape and really decide what my values are and who I want to be. And there's a lot to be said about that. You know, that nice balance. Like, think about the philosophers and the Stoics. Like, those guys, a lot of them are very wealthy, but they had this insatiable desire to experience friction to the point of pretending they were poor sometimes, just to understand and have compassion or empathy or whatever word you want to use for people that weren't them.
Yeah.
And creating an objective view of themselves. There's something really powerful to be said about that. Stepping outside yourself, even literally in that sense, where it's like you're stepping outside of the identity that you are perceived as.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
More, as we're saying, to divert away from intellectual dick measuring. As you're saying this, I'm thinking of this. I think it was Marcus Aurelius. Actually, I don't remember what the quote was exactly, but it's something along the lines of "You become your thoughts." Everybody said that. A lot of people have said that. And so I'm kind of disagreeing with what I was saying of, like, go deep into your dickhead and really feel it.
Yeah.
I think there's also is something to that, the awareness that something I've been messing with and feeling experience, and that's been really exciting, is I've been working with a journal, and you know, so every morning I do my thing where I go through, like, of all the crap that I'm grateful for and what would make today great, you know, and daily affirmations and these things of, you know, at first it feels stupid, to be honest. And then with time, I've actually noticed myself being grateful for more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so it started off with this, like, it's like, okay, this feels like a kind of a silly little practice. I felt kind of superficial level. And then a month passes and you're still doing it. And it starts to kind of envelop and open itself up just because you started to nurture it. Mm-hmm. So it's a similar concept of, like, you know, of a seed. When you look at a seed, it's not that impressive. You know? It's like happy anniversary, honey. I got you some fucking seeds. You're like, oh God. You know, but then it's like, no, it's the representation. Let's work with it. Let's nurture this together. You know, and then all of a sudden, a month goes by, 3 months goes by, there's some germination happening, and you start to really feel something. I felt that with thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, so all the Stoics and all the folks throughout the Emerson, they're just like, it's like repeated over and over. You become your thoughts, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know, have you experienced that in your own?
Yeah, I think so. I think because you begin to behave, like your outward physical and emotional expression is that of your thoughts.
Yeah, man.
You know, like and this is what's funny too, is you have to see your shadow. Like I know personally, like I've one thing I've really started to explore lately is trying to really understand the biases that my life experience has given me, right? Like I know that for me, I have a wicked superpower of being able to rationalize and justify really anything I want. And I can make it and language it in a way that will seem right even to people outside of me if you just give me enough time to rationalize it. So I can catch myself now with a little bit of awareness, and journaling has helped me a ton with this, because I can one of my favorite parts about journaling, especially in the morning, is I can ask myself questions and I can answer them objectively, because I've then turned them into physical, tangible words. So when I catch myself going down that path, and my life experience has handed that to me as a challenge that I get to overcome, but it can also lead me down a dark path. And when I start feeling myself slipping down that, I'm like, oh, am I just rationalizing some bullshit fantasy behavior that doesn't serve my purpose and takes me off purpose instead of on purpose?
Yeah.
I can catch myself there. And then again, I become my thoughts, because then my thoughts have created an environment for me to change and grow, and that becomes habitual, and then that begins to take less effort. Yeah. Can
I not so seamlessly transition into something that I have some degree of more, like, at least I like research into a little bit more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Body movement stuff. So I was reading this thing. There was a study, and
the way most intellectual pissing contests start. Speaking of which,
here we go. So I was reading this thing. I'm doing this chapter thing, and I'm gathering research for it. And one of the deals that I grabbed from it was a study. It was done in the British Journal of Psychology, Social Psychology.
Sounds legit.
Super legit. Yeah.
Peer-reviewed as fuck.
Peer-reviewed as fuck, yeah. But one of the things that they got out of there was, it was 72 folks, and they had them do different, it was affirmations around how they would perform with work, and they had them go do negative ones and positive ones. All right, so like what's going to make this be a positive experience there? And what they found, they did it with two different groups. One group, they were hunched over, right? So they're in this hyper-kyphotic, like folded chest position, rolled forward shoulders, forward head posture, all the stuff. And then the other group, they put them in more of an upright position, right? And this upright position is analog to like lotus position yoga. It's analog to Olympic weightlifting, analog to gymnastics, all like being strong in your body. And what they found was the folks that were in more of an upright, strong, empowered, in quotations, position, they ended up actually believing the stuff that they were saying. So then afterwards they reviewed them, and it was like, okay, like how did that feel when you were saying that? And what they found with almost everybody, was unanimous. The people that were in this position, it was interesting. No matter what they said, whether it was positive or negative, it just didn't feel right. They just didn't, like, it didn't really connect. It was kind of just, it felt forced. When they say those affirmations through more of an upright position, whether it was negative or positive, it's almost like you are starting to tune your antenna in a sense. So when the physical body is in attunement, then all of a sudden, whatever the heck it is that you're manifesting, thinking, projecting, all of a sudden it becomes kind of like a wand.
Yeah.
But if you take your body out of that attunement, then all of a sudden, whatever you're projecting, positive, negative, whatever it is, it's just kind of static.
You know, it's funny that you say that, and I like to play with this a little bit, because I've worked with a lot of people on intentions and setting their intentions and how they present themselves. And one thing that's really funny, and Jordan Peterson talks about this, is in his book 12 Rules for Life, which is, I'm about to finish it. It's fantastic. And I don't remember, I think it's the first rule is like stand tall with your shoulders back, right? And he talks about the lobsters and how lobsters posture themselves and how much that means in their society. And he's, again, highly recommend that book. But one thing I think is funny, and I haven't really thought about this until you said that, is that when you project yourself in that way, when you hold yourself in that way, not only do you come off more confident and capable and assertive and strong in your word, but I think you also present yourself as someone who is strong-willed enough and capable enough to accept criticism.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to like criticize the hunched over, like, oh yeah, maybe, I don't know. No one wants to, like, it's almost like it's like bullying almost. Everybody wants to shy away from that. But if you can stand tall and present in who you are and be fully you, then you can accept feedback in a way that people aren't scared to give you the news, right? Like, oh man, challenge your ideas. And I haven't thought about that as much as how much then that friction makes you express your ideas a little bit more fully, or maybe shape them based upon feedback and context.
Think if you were looking at two bodies of water. One was a stagnant swamp and the other was a rushing river.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have some trash. Okay. Which body of water would be able to receive that trash?
Huh. I mean, the rushing water, you would think, right? Yeah, just
pull
take it
right
away.
out. No big deal. Throw whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
Right? The ocean can handle it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not suggesting we pollute the ocean.
Definitely don't pollute the ocean.
We're not condoning.
I don't know what the Align podcast stance is on polluting the ocean, but the Pleasure Monkey podcast is not about polluting the ocean.
Yeah. We're doing a whale nuking episode next week, actually. It's going to be really good.
Go listen to the podcast with Kyle Thierman about pollution in the ocean before you start throwing shit in raging rivers. Anyways, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, so with that. So I think that's maybe like a bit of an out there analogy, but that you can literally say that's happening from more of a Western anatomical perspective. Mm-hmm. When someone is in that stuck hunched position, we can just keep on going back into that conversation of stuck hunched over versus open, stacked, strong, integrated, aligned, whatever language you want to put on it. You can distribute weight from your head down to your feet. Mm-hmm. When you're in that position, your body's able to successfully circulate cerebral spinal fluid, the fluid that bathes your spine, bathes your brain. You're able to circulate lymphatic fluid. You're able to circulate blood. Your joints are actually in a position, unnecessary polysyllabic words, joint centration. They're balanced, right? So when your joints are in a place of balance, your organs are in a place of balance, they feel at ease.
Yeah.
If your joints and your organs are at ease, your body is at ease. Your nervous system is at ease.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that person is the person that's receiving that feedback and you're like, oh, they're at ease, they can circulate this information through their body. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else, it's like, oh, you already see that there's some stagnation happening around their heart and their neck and their hips. Like, I don't want to throw more shit into that program.
Yeah. And it's almost like a vibratory thing too. When we speak on vibes.
Vibratory.
Yeah. I
Tell
feel
me
like
more.
I mean, the energetic field you kind of put out there. I mean, if you look at Joe Dispenza's work, and we're 99.99% energy and 0.001% actual matter when you break it down.
I don't even know what energy means, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just space.
Hold on.
Obviously,
we need a smart person in the room.
Hang on, let's pause the podcast. I'm gonna get woke real quick. We're gonna get woke real quick. No, but he talks about this is that thing. When you can feel, you can really feel when someone's coming to you with openness and receptivity and confidence in who they are. Like that's I call it like a vibratory thing. That's an energetic thing. That they're at ease. That's not something someone has to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't have to go up to you and be like, hey man, I'm super at ease right now. You can check my posture and see that, but you feel that from someone, and you can really take that in and know that you're in a place of, I mean, fuck, that's holding space, man. Like, you got to be at ease to be able to do that. You got to be in a place of, I'm here.
Yeah.
And you can hold space.
Holding space is another contentious, woke, new age term that I think a lot of people might have some resistance around.
I'm holding space for you right now.
I feel it.
No.
As soon as you said vibrator, I felt the space. I can feel it.
Okay. You want to go into another quote here since we derailed ourselves?
I'm reading. We should go deep.
Yeah.
So I'm reading The Multi-Orgasmic Man.
Yeah, you are into that right now. Subtle transition. This is the most tangential podcast I've ever been on in my life.
So the reason I mentioned that is because you mentioned vibrator.
I did not mention vibrators. I said vibratory.
All right, but in the book, something that I gathered that I thought was really interesting as well. Same conversation around the circulation of fluid is from the position. So they teach in like Taoist sex teachings, but you want to actually all the same concept. CrossFit, Olympic lifting, gymnastics. It all stems into Taoist sex practices as well, in a sense.
It's just why I was sleeping with my clients when I was a CrossFit coach.
Exactly. So one of the things is I just love seeing all these congruencies between all the practices.
I do. I love that. That lateral processing is really great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So upon reading widely is something that I've gathered from some various mentors of like, just read everything because it all kind of links back, that horizontal thinking links back to your vertical, whatever your idea is.
Yeah.
But so one of the things in there as well is around circulating they use fluffier language and they say energy a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay. Like I get that. It's one of those things that one has to feel the sensation of what energy in quotations moving through your body and down through your hands and your legs and such. Until you have that experience of what that like vibratory type experience is, you're like, okay, I'm just, I'm clocking out of this. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they were mentioning in there is keeping a long neutral. That's my language. They don't say it in there. They're just keeping yourself like stacked up or whatever they said. But keeping that long neutral spine allows you to actually circulate that energy. They use more fluffy language that probably some people might have resistance around. They call it the microcosmic orbit.
Okay.
Right? So this Chinese medicine stuff, there's the front line and the back line. It's essentially creates like a circular orbit, 2 meridians from wrapping around your perineum territory.
Okay.
Right? And it's going...
You guys can't see Aaron's grabbing his
I'm
dick
grabbing
right
my
now.
gooch right now.
Yeah, he's right.
So in between the testicles and the anus is kind of the central point.
I like that spot.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's important. So people should explore those territories of their body. We have a lot of shame in our culture, and so we end up actually having a lot of contraction around that area.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
It is.
Shame and contraction are congruent.
Ooh,
If you
I like that.
If you have shame in an aspect of your body, you'll feel disassociation. So people that end up having back pain in certain parts of their body, they'll have issues with drawing that part of their body. So they can't create a mental map or a visualization of that component of themselves.
So physically drawing.
Physically drawing.
Okay.
You say, so like, draw me a picture of your back. Like, what's your thoracic, middle of your spine look like? And you just give me a little thing. It's just like, there's just blank space. There's nothing there.
Okay, that's a wild association. That's
but
great.
if you're like really in there and you dance and you move and you feel good in that space, your kundalini is rising.
Ooh. People are going to be so woke with after they finish this podcast.
Yeah. I'm sure as I'm saying any of this potentially out there stuff, I'm also making fun of myself at the same time. I think there's incredible amounts of value with it, and it's not stuff that I fully grasp
you take it all with a grain of salt.
level. But I like scratching at it.
Yeah,
I think
it's fun to play
there's
with.
a lot of value there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so your body will literally disassociate from parts that you have pain around. And so something that I experienced doing manual therapy with people is there's kind of like a cycle of sensation that they'll have in their body. If people have been disconnected from a certain part for lots of years, then a part that I know should feel painful feels numb. Right.
Okay.
So I'll get in and be like, oh, that's dehydrated, agglomerated, just like stuck. Like your nerve endings should be on fire in that area when I put my elbow into that spot.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it feels good. It's fine. And I'm like, okay.
You know what that reminds me of is that meme of that like little dog sitting at a kitchen table and the house is on fire. It's like, this is fine. It's fine.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah,
okay.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
It's fine.
Yeah. So those are the people that actually, generally speaking, have, in my experience with this, the most work, you could say, are the people that feel fine.
Yeah.
And there is something to feeling fine and doing a great job. I'm not saying if you feel fine, like you're probably screwed. But quite often, especially in the culture that we live in, and like the soup that we swim around in, if you don't have some sensation of awareness of like, oh no, there's some things to work on in here.
Yeah.
Very, very likely it's means to look in a little deeper.
Investigate a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I think there's a lot to be said about that. So, what are some big takeaways from that book that you're in so far? Like we were kind of playing with this earlier when we were acro yogaing, but is that's the proper term? Acro yogaing?
Well, we were doing so acro yoga is a little different. So today we were doing like you call it like partner acrobatics, kind of, or like hand balancing.
Yeah.
So acro yoga is actually, it was at one point, Jason Niemer, he's a really close friend, and I hope he's out there listening. Jason Niemer, highly recommend checking his stuff out.
Okay.
He's one of the sweetest, humblest, amazing teachers that you'll ever find from just like a physical wellness perspective.
Yeah.
So highly recommend looking into his stuff. He's one of the co-founders of Acro Yoga. So it's not a trademark thing because it was going to be wacky if it was trademarked, but that's like they called that Acro Yoga. So their practice is Acro Yoga technically.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we were doing, you call it like partner acrobatic stuff. So Acro Yoga isn't so much like standing up and putting people in handstands in your hands and shoulders and stuff. It's more like L basing and laying on your back. And,
yeah, gotcha. But anyways, we were talking about some spinal alignment stuff when we were out there when it came down to sexuality, because we inevitably started making sex jokes while we were throwing people around.
Naturally.
And what are some takeaways from this multi-orgasmic man? That's what you're in right now, right?
All right, something that I think is really cool.
Yeah, let's get the people what they want here.
This is good. This is important. First of all, I'm not an expert with the multi-orgasmic man book. And I think it's really interesting, and there's a lot of good takeaways. I would recommend people start reading it and start practicing. That's a big takeaway as well. Get your face out of the books and start doing stuff. No problems.
Sign me up.
and have a nice balance between book and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
good. I'll stop right there. Have a nice balance between books and doing stuff.
It's important.
If you could just do that with your whole life, you'd mind blown.
It's very important.
It's like books and podcasts, and then actually do the things.
Yeah.
Do the things.
Yeah. There's another unnecessary quote. Intellectualism is sometimes a fear of actual experience. That's a paraphrase. That's not exactly how it was said.
Great.
But I gathered that from, I don't remember who that was, but it's a nice one. There's a lot of people, it's just like you're so deep in the books and you're so deep in formulating these ideas, but you're just sitting on your ass reading books.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier, really, with making it unrelatable and not being able to share your things, whatever your currency is. Yeah.
So pump the pubococcygeal muscles, the PC muscles.
Pubococcygeal.
Okay. Pubococcygeal. All right. So pubic symphysis. Mm-hmm. People can feel this. So everybody can reach down and they can go into just about, if you have depending on either or whatever genitals you got, go about just about maybe an inch or so. I'm doing this right now.
Yeah,
you should do it with
I'm gonna
me.
jump in here with you. I got stretchy pants
Have
on.
fun. Yeah, let's enjoy ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we had some noose.
Aubrey's gonna come out here with his phone and put this on his Instagram story.
Sparkling water.
I knew they were gay.
Setting this up all day. So you can reach through. Everyone. So this is another thing. People don't know what their freaking pelvis looks like.
No.
Take a little. Do like a little questionnaire. How many people actually know what the shape of their pelvis is? Maybe 1 out of 200.
Maybe. I would say 1 out of 500.
That'd be generous.
Yeah.
So it's just going in and feeling a lot of people have a lot of tension around this pubic symphysis territory. So just go, it's just maybe about an inch above if you have a penis, an inch above that guy. If you have a vagina, inch above that guy. Yeah. And just you'll feel a hard bone there. This is a great experience, right? So start going through there. If you feel any hardness in that territory, which in this culture that we live in, really high percentage chance that you're going to feel some hardness around there because, again, shame around our genitals.
Yeah.
Right? So and that shame, it's not just like an esoteric, energetic metaphor. It's, okay, I'm insecure about the fact that I have a penis or a vagina, and so I kind of fold my legs in a little bit, right? If you're a girl and you're wearing a skirt, you walk around and as you sit, you're creating you're actualizing that pattern of contracting your adductors.
Yeah.
Right? And you're kind of folding yourself around that space. Okay, so this isn't just energetic woo-woo conversation. This is literally tangible anatomical changes as a product of the way that we experience ourselves. So just going in is just starting to feel that as a starting point. If there is any rigidity around that or dehydration, stuckness, that's going to stop your ability to feel what, in the way the book would describe it, like your full sexual potential.
That's incredible. No, I definitely like felt that's interesting. Like it's almost like muscle, like a knot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
big. So from there, just a little practice people can play with that. We have the tendency, we're very, oh boy, more language. We're very like yang, right? We're very like energetic, go. You know, like we don't see a lot of, on the cover of Muscle and Fitness or whatever, you don't see a lot of people like oming or or passively stretching their shoulder girdle or something like
Mindfulness
that.
magazine has that. I see that at Whole Foods.
Good, right, perfect.
They have the Path to Enlightenment too. I saw that.
Right. You know, so with that, we take a very active approach at mobilizing our body. You know, so if you have some kind of gunky hard thing around your, in this case, your pubic symphysis territory, we'll usually take some active approach with that, where we're like going into some deep lunges and we're getting in there with balls, and we're kind of, you know, sometimes actually shortening all that tissue, right? So putting yourself in kind of like a fetal position, so flexing your abdomen forward a little bit, right? Bringing your legs up, making that area feel very safe, allows you to actually create more tissue change with that. So that's like manual therapy kind of conversation.
Yeah,
but it's also a
sense.
metaphor for everything else, conversation, everything.
Yeah, I mean that's like the ART principle, right? Like the active release treatments, and that's that you're going to contract, like give the muscle some slack, let it relax, and then
ART does more contract relax. So they do like PNF type stuff, more unnecessary acronyms. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation.
Oh wow,
that was
dude.
That was big.
Yeah, I had to spell that in college, and I don't think I ever successfully spelled it right.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a good one.
It is good.
Yeah, good.
I had a good time with
It's
that.
good to bust those out unnecessarily at like dinner parties, and then everyone hates you.
Everyone, I'd like to do that, and it's fun. But it depends on what groups I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so pubococcygeal muscles. So this sling, the reason we mentioned the pubo part of it is that pubic symphysis. Get to know it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's this sling that wraps all the way to coccygeal, coccyx. Coccyx is your tail, right?
Yeah.
So your sacrum is this little plate, triangular plate back here, and then the bottom of that is the coccyx. So we have this sling that's kind of supporting that our nether region. All right. And so one of the things that you can start to tinker with from this, you know, if you're looking to do some like Taoist stuff like that, is first of all, organize your pelvis, right? So it's just sitting in like most people can't do a lotus position, like a traditional proper lotus position. But you can just, for starters, raise your butt up on a pillow so you can be on the front edge of your sit bones.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So this is really important. So if you can, people are sitting on the floor, you can cross your legs, whatever you do, raise your butt up about, for most people, it's going to be about 6 inches or so. And what you'll feel is your pelvis roll on to the front edge of those bones coming out the bottom of your butt cheeks. If you're on the front edge of those bones, all of a sudden, your pelvis is a strong, stable foundation for your organs to sit on, for your diaphragms to sit on, your respiratory diaphragm, your neck, your head.
Got it.
We stack that from the base, right? It's like laying cement for a house. You want a really good foundation.
Yeah.
Really invest in that foundation. Okay.
Got it.
From there, great. We have an organized pelvis. Now from here, we can start speaking to some of these muscles. If you start contracting these muscles from an imbalanced position, you're adding contraction into imbalance. So first we organize and create a nice balance with the joint, and then from there we can start adding this. In the book, they talk about pumping those muscles. So you start contracting your P muscles essentially.
Yeah.
And from there, what you'll feel if you start practicing this with sexuality, you can do this with your own self-practice, or you don't even necessarily need to be doing it with any kind of sexual practice. You can just do it in general. They recommend, as you're pumping those muscles, you're squeezing your P muscles essentially, you start to visualize as you're breathing in, visualizing that energy in quotations moving up the back of your spine and then all the way up to the top of your head. And as you breathe out, you visualize that moving down the front of your body.
Yeah, David Data talks about that a little bit. Yeah.
And as you do that, you want to put your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And so that kind of completes that circuit. Even if this, for 99% of people listening to this, it'll probably be kind of just like, okay, this is a little bit out there. Just visualize it. Yeah. So it's the same thing with the journal stuff. When you first start journaling, it feels stupid.
Yeah.
It's not until you do this shit for a month, 2 months, 2 years that you're like, oh, okay,
Now
there's some roots here. I gained
Yeah.
enough momentum that it actually has some sensibility. But you gotta just like start the practice.
It isn't just starting the whole thing. You have to start it and embrace the clumsiness of these things early on.
Man.
Journaling, sexual practices, like these mindfulness practice, whatever it may be. Like you got to get through that. Like, I kind of suck at this. And
Yeah, it's great.
That self-critic's like, oh man, you don't need to do this.
Yeah,
you don't need this.
Yeah.
And then you get into it, and you're like, oh, okay, I see this now.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. I really like that. So that's the multi-orgasmic man.
I mean, that's just a little bit. I'm no expert in this stuff.
So I know, but this makes it relatable. It's good stuff.
Yeah, but that's in my experience towards this, and I am experiencing the things that they're talking about, and I'm just I'm on the path. I haven't.
Yeah,
I by no means am like the maestro of that type of thing.
Well, you sold me on reading the book. So you did a good job there.
Read the book, man. Get in there.
Yeah, I'm getting in there.
Get on in there.
I'm getting Audible in that thing tonight. Getting on my way home. So yeah, dude. So what else are you diving into these days, man? That's one thing I really admire about what you've got going on is that one, you and I both get to have conversations with really badass people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And two, you're just constantly seeking knowledge. I guess knowledge is a strong word, but it's things to think about.
Yeah.
So what else you got going on?
Man, so the big thing, I guess, we were talking about this on the bike ride home, is working on some chapters in this book, and one of the big ideas of it is that your physical environment ends up molding your physical body. So we come from Joseph Campbell, Hero with a Thousand Faces, another one. Highly recommend people checking out Joseph Campbell's work. Even if you just YouTube Joseph Campbell's name and listen to him speak for any amount of time,
it's awesome.
It's another one of those. Just do it. If you feel called by it. If not, then don't worry about it. But he calls it in his Hero with a Thousand Faces, the hero's journey. What he refers to in the first part of the hero's journey, which is what, that's what like the story of Star Wars and story of Lord of the Rings, story of Jesus, they all follow the same kind of story arc. And the initial portion of that story arc is coming from what he calls the ordinary world. Right? Yeah. So we were all raised in this place that we perceive as being ordinary. And what my perception of that ordinary world, the world that we live in, is one of kind of what we were talking about of folding us forward. Okay, so our world is in our cell phone, right? So our cell phone, we end up going to this kind of carpal tunnel type position. We contract our hands. There's all sorts of EMF and conversations around how that affects like the frequencies come down to the phone affecting your wrist, but that's a separate conversation. Just the position that puts you in, it starts to put you in kind of a bit more of like a folded forward Tyrannosaurus Rex hands type position. Right? We end up, as we're in our cars, most people have bucket seats. At one point, I thought bucket seats were really cool. Right? I got a Subaru Impreza, and I was like, wanted the bucket seat, like rally car.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, dear God, they're terrible. Right? Because it puts you in this folded forward, hunched over, protective, guarded, defensive position. So all the stuff that we've been talking about throughout all the previous conversation, it's putting us into that position of collapse.
Yeah.
Every time you get in the plane, position to collapse. Every time you get in the car, collapse. Every time you freaking almost like shake a stick at anything, get into a sofa, a couch, your office chair, collapse, collapse, collapse.
Yeah.
And now we're in this world where, so depression it was by 2020, I think it's actually just now, is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Right? So it's like, oh, that's really interesting. So what all the studies are showing is that by being in this folded forward, hunched over position, it literally makes us feel depressed. And we live in an environment, in a mold that actually puts us into a depressed position, and we're getting depressed. What's going on? Could there be a movement conversation with it?
Yeah.
I think
absolutely too. And I mean, even to look at like, you and I express our physicality in way different ways, and it's funny to say that, but as you're saying this, is talking about standing and alignment. It's like sometimes getting under external load, I feel like helps a ton with that. like a properly learning how to squat and then loading it, or carrying something, like carrying a sandbag or a yoke, or another person. Like partner carries are always super fun, or some of the acrobatic stuff we did today, I guess, is relatively advanced, but like just putting yourself in situations where you get to experience that posture of power, that posture of being able to stand in a resilient but free place.
Yeah.
But you have to experience. If you've never felt it, you have no context.
It's the same thing. You need a relationship sometimes. Some solitude, super important. Relationship, equally important.
Yeah.
So it's always that ebb and flow of it. So the relationship creates really beautiful feedback. Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the dickhead thing. If you can live inside your home and do your internet job and just be a total, kind of a cunt and just do my thing. All of a sudden, you place another human being in that home with you that you care deeply for, and they care deeply for you.
Yeah.
You can't act the same way. You have that immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Every time I do that thing that I'm by myself, totally fine. When I'm with this partner person, the roof blows off.
Exactly.
So
yes.
that roof blowing off is the same metaphor for I have, say, a whatever heavy kettlebell for you stacked up over my body, and I'm holding it in an overhead position, and I need to punch through, right? And I need to feel that connection all the way down to my foot, all the way up through my hip, all the way through my spine, through my shoulder girdle, through my elbow, my wrist. I get that feedback connection. The moment that I lift that kettlebell like a dickhead, all of a sudden I have this pain sensation.
Yep. Yeah.
And then sometimes it's really good to let go of the weights and just dance and kind of move around. But I think both dancers derive great value from weights, and weightlifters derive great value from dance.
Well, and it's a balance of both, right? Like I think sometimes you have to put yourself in the loaded position to have that pain response. That pain response gives you a target. Yeah. A target of work. Okay, now go work on that pain. And then if you're sitting in that place of defeated posture, and then you go to an ecstatic dance, all right? Or if you've patterned a rigidity into your life that you need to break out of, then physically break the fuck out of it. That's why Tony Robbins seminars are so powerful.
You've been?
I've been at least the power within. But for me, it was weird. I was 22 years old. So it's been 9 years ago I went, and I thought it was great, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it till a couple of years later when I reflected on it. And what it was is that I was 22 years old, and I had a job that I absolutely fucking loved, and I was coaching people, and I was getting paid well, and I was just stoked. I was not disillusioned by anything. I was having a great time. My rent was $500. I had a car that was paid for, and I got paid $100 an hour to coach fitness, and I get to do it like 20. I was like, it was awesome. I didn't even realize how great it was until looking back on it later on. But it was like, man, I had a sweet gig, and it was because I worked my ass off and earned it. But I started to notice that I kind of sat in the very back. I just watched the people, not so much Tony Robbins, but I was watching the people, and these people have lived in a fucking cube their whole life, metaphorically or physically. And it was to watch them scream and move and dance and high five and cry and just be full of expression. I was like, oh, they were so fucking tied up. They were living in the cage, and they didn't know they were in the cage. And then someone showed them that they had been so confined. It's like, oh. And then I do ecstatic dance for the first time with our boy Aubrey Marcus, who's in the other room there. And I was like, oh, and then seeing the same thing. People that are lobbyists in DC. Like a good friend of mine now from that experience was an abortion lobbyist in DC. Like, can you imagine the fucking energetic baggage that job carries? You're a villain to at least half the people you come across in that world, and let herself go, right? Or guys that were, some other guy, a gym owner as well, big, huge guy. Me and that guy just gorillaed out together in this ecstatic dance, just having a blast. Like, just let yourself go because you've been living this like tight, bound up life. And I think it's a gateway to openness. Yeah. So it's cool that physical freedom of expression is so fucking valuable.
I went to this lady. She was some kind of spiritual leader of some sort. I don't actually know what her name was.
Oprah?
I think it was. She looked a little bit like it might have been Oprah. But so she was wearing like the whole orange robe get up and the whole. She was sitting in on a pillow and on the ground. It's very, very spiritual experience. And I mean, it was really nice. Actually, I'm mocking it, but it was really good. But one of the things that she was mentioning that was just a fun analogy that I was like, oh, that's good. Is she's saying if you wake up in the morning and you take your temperature, it's 102 degrees. And you're like, oh shit, this is funny. I don't know. Might not be good. And you ask, a couple people, and you're like, what's your temperature? They say, oh, it's 98.6. It's like, oh my God, I'm sick. You probably know where I'm going with this. If you go out into the street and you ask 10 people, you say, what's your temperature? I feel terrible. They say, oh, 102. I was like, oh, I guess I'm fine. And that's the case when you walk around the world. Like, it's so rare to run into somebody that it really feels like they're vital. Like most people that we walk into, it's good enough. Yeah. They're not like bleeding out their eyeballs or anything. Yeah. But there's so few people that really have like this kind of light with them. And what we end up doing with that, you mentioned crabs before, it's like the crab in the bucket analogy.
Yeah, that's lobsters, but yeah, crabs in the bucket.
Oh, how dare you correct me?
Yeah, sorry. A crustacean of some kind that wanders the seafloor.
Toad or a frog? What is the difference? Yeah. You milk a frog, right?
You can milk a frog and smoke its juices. Yeah,
Jesus,
it's a gateway to God. It's weird.
Gateway to God.
It's weird when they put these psychedelics that'll tap you into God in the oddest places.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. Adam and Eve ate off the tree of life, and that was just too simple, so they had to start making it complicated, I guess.
William Blake talks about that with like the just God being kind of like one of the things he gets into with that is like the unnecessariness of the rainbow spray that comes off of a wave. Like, we'd do fine without that.
Yeah, you wouldn't even notice it.
It would be no big deal.
Yeah.
But a wave comes through, and all of a sudden, and a whale goes up the bed, and there's this rainbow that pops off of it.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary. But there's these little interwoven layers throughout reality that it's just like, like somebody's artistic up there. William Blake, I'm pretty sure is where I got that.
Yeah, he's our go-to guy.
The other interesting one, I got this from Chris Ryan, actually. He was the one that turned me on to all this stuff originally. The Tangentially Speaking, Sex at Dawn, highly recommend checking his stuff out as well.
Yeah, he's been brought up on this podcast several times.
Impactful. But one of the things I got from, William Blake, but Chris turned me on to it, was as we say a zebra ends up getting killed by a lion, they end up getting totally juiced up by this whole cocktail of endorphins that put them into essentially like a pretty surreal kind of, probably like a psychedelic high state.
Yeah.
So
the pineal gland's just pumping out.
You're just pumping. You're pumping those pubococcygeal muscles, moving the moving the thing. So it's just another interesting thing where it's like, for whatever reason, our physiology or biology, God, consciousness, whatever it is, has this kind of like mercy on us. Yeah. Like, totally unnecessary. You're gonna die. Who freaking cares? But you get this little surge of like, oh, it kind of feels good.
Have you heard about the cat and mice trips?
Maybe.
So there's a theory that when we see these cats, they would catch mice and hold them down, and the same thing, you get this rush of DMT. Well, these cats would eat the mice head first, and they would get that kind of rush that they would end up ingesting this DMT rich brain, and they would get a little bit of a tap in from that.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's all over. We don't understand. We don't know.
We just got to explore. That's like the moral of the story. Is there's all these little secret treasures all over the place, but we just get stuck in paying the bills and like sorting, like paying the bills. I think it's really important.
Yeah, that is.
And treating money with respect and treating it like a resource. Treating it like water. It's like if you have a pond in your backyard and it's all stagnant, and more water analogies, and all stagnant and messed up.
Yeah.
Fix your pond.
Yeah.
Figure out why that thing's stagnant.
Sort yourself out.
Sort that thing out. Yeah. So treat like money is one of those things that you don't notice money until you don't have it.
Yeah.
And then it feels like you're being suffocated.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. Treating it with respect, I think, is a big thing. I think there's a lot of people that are guilty of like, well, like, money is just a material. What it's like, no, treat it with respect.
It's a thing. Yeah. I mean, that's the spiritual communities get really caught up in that.
But then they're the same people that will be potentially greedy or potentially, it's like
it's an unhealthy relationship.
Generally speaking, I think when it's when someone doesn't have something or they're trying to get something, they weren't able to get it, whatever it is, they'll end up maybe like talking shit.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's actually bad for you anyway.
I think that's sour grapes. That's a sour grape.
The old sour grape thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with that, it's just, I don't even know why I'm mentioning that, but it is something that I've been pondering on is just treating it with respect and treating it like a resource and just treating it like water.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be you wouldn't have a weird relationship with water.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't hoard the water.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I just want my water to be clean. I want it to flow. I don't want to hold it in one place too long. I want to put it back in and circulate it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the big takeaway there, and then a lot of this conversation is opening yourself to experiencing things and accepting that you may be in a pattern and you may have conditioned yourself to feel and be a certain way, and that you can break out of that. Yeah, you have the capacity to break out of that pattern through movement, through expression, and through mental and physical exploration.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, dude, this has been fun.
We're wrapping this bitch up.
I think let's wrap this bitch up.
Shut her down.
Man, dude, look at this. We must be podcast hosts or something because we were at 1 hour exactly.
Oh, damn. I must be a shitty podcast host because I thought we were at like 27 minutes.
I know. I looked down and I was like, we're 35 minutes into this thing. We ran it. But dude, I think this has been super fun. Always great to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much. And where can everybody find you?
Oh, man. Well, they can jump in the Align podcast if they want, or aligntherapy.com that's like the hub of all the things. I put some wacky acrobatic shit up on Instagram. It's Align Podcast, ALIGN Podcast. If you look up Align, things will pop up.
Things will align if you look up Align.
Promise. Guarantee alignment if you just type the word Align into Google. Guarantee. Guarantee.
That's how it happens.
Money back.
All right, man. We'll see you soon, brother.
See ya.
That is our show, everyone. I hope that you loved it. If you want to get more from Aaron, check him out at the Align Podcast and aligntherapy.com. You can also go find him on Instagram at Align Podcast. Yeah. Super awesome guy. I love hanging out with him. He always teaches me a thing or two about me, which is generally fun, and I hope you had the same experience. And guys, if you want to work with me, if you're out there and you're feeling called to take the next step to living the fuck out of life, well, you can go to livethefuckoutoflife.com and you can click on the lifestyle design tab, fill out a short little survey, and we'll do 30 minutes free. 30 minutes of free conversation about lifestyle design, what we can do, what are some practices that you can implement into your day, into your life to help you live more fully, to embrace life's challenges with more confidence, to make stronger decisions, and to really bring the best version of yourself forward, to understand how you're being seen and how you want to be seen, what you value about yourself. We dive into so many fun things. So if you want to check that out, guys, again, it's livethefuckoutoflife.com. Click the lifestyle design tab and check it out. As always, please leave a 5-star review if you love the show. If you're loving this show and you love what we got going on, go over to iTunes, leave a 5-star review and some kind words. Those things make my day, and they make this all just... it's all worth it. It's always worth it, but they make it pretty nice. It's nice. I like to screenshot them. If you know what? If you're on Instagram and you leave a comment or a comment on your review, leave your Instagram handle and I'll give you a nice little shout out on the gram. And if you write some mean shit and leave your Instagram handle, then I will have a public debate with you on Instagram as well. Actually, don't do that. Let's avoid that whole circumstance. Just 5-star reviews and nice things. All right, let's just do that. And also, guys, speaking of Instagram, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Connor Wanders, ConnerWanders, and you can check out Pleasure Monkey Podcast on Instagram as well. Putting up some dank memes, putting up some great content. We have intern Abby just doing her thing, churning out all the good stuff, quotes and memes and graphics, and it's good life over here at Pleasure Monkey HQ. Well, I think that's it, y'all. I hope y'all have an amazing weekend, an amazing day, amazing week, whatever day you're listening to it. Maybe you're going to have an amazing Christmas tomorrow. I don't know. It's possible. I mean, statistically speaking, people will be listening to this on Christmas Eve, even though that's not even really very close to right now. Anyways, I'm rambling. Love everybody. I hope you all have an amazing day. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.